Welcome to WRL Broadcast. I am Hate Mail. With me today we have Ogre Barbarian.
Heyo.
A blast from the past. For those of you that don't remember Ogre, he was a long time DC Legends player, did all kinds of episodes. We started the podcast with him back in the ancient days, and he was the only DCL player, I think, to ever visit Warner Brothers Studios. Was his claim to fame.
As far as I know.
And we also have an extremely special guest, her second time on the podcast, the former Warner Brothers community manager, Stanner.
Hey, how's it going?
Hooray.
And since the game is ending, I tried to reach out to current employees, but as usual, they did not agree to come on. So when I was reaching out to Ogre to come back in the podcast, we thought, hey, it'd be great to have Stanner on. So she can be a lot more liberal in anything she says at this point, since there's no NDAs to spoil anymore. So we'll kind
Yeah.
of just get into it. So Stanner, why don't you tell us where have you been? And I know you're working on a new game now. If you wouldn't mind giving us just a little bit of info on that.
Yeah, for sure. I was over at a company called Nifty Games for a couple of years, and we are doing sports games. That didn't work out. The company doesn't exist anymore, but we did launch some stuff, and it was fun to work there. It just didn't, catch on. But now I'm at another company called Network Games, and we're in soft launch with another squad RPG. It's our own IP, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, it's in soft launch in like certain regions, not out in the US yet at the moment, but it's out like in, I don't remember all the regions, but like Canada, New Zealand, places like that.
And I saw a picture of it. The game, it's called Triumph Mobile RPG.
Yeah.
So there's a website. There'll be a link in the show notes. Looks like a pretty interesting game. I do like that it's your own IP because one thing, even though I love DC characters, and then that game you had was NFL based, was cool. The problem with non-IP games, you have to get approval for everything, so it really limits design. I can imagine.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and it's really fun working with a new IP too, just because like the art's really cool. And we can kind of like decide on the lore and kind of get to, have these characters have like a little bit more interesting backstories and stuff like that. That like, with DC, some of the characters are pretty like locked in on like what they can and can't be.
Yeah, this you get to create all your own stuff, and you don't have to pay somebody every time you want to change something. So
Right.
that's uh that's always a benefit. Um, and this game comes out sometime next year.
Yeah, I think so. That's the current plan.
Okay, and next year's only a couple months away, so it's not all that far. So we'll see when next year, but we will definitely have Stanner back on when it gets a little closer to kind of really give us a lot more information on the game. Then if you have more information you want to share, we'll do that later in the episode. Ogre, how about you? Where have you been and what have you been up to, buddy?
Just a lot of work. Lots of work. I actually got out of mobile gaming for the most part. I still do it sometimes, but definitely not to the degree that I was when I was playing DCL.
Yeah,
So
I would say that's probably ambiguous for most DCL players. Even most of us haven't. In the last 6 months, I've really not played a whole heck of a lot. Now it's kind of pointless, which is really funny because they released everything in the game. You can get everything basically for free in the game now, so you can max all your characters. You can take them to Rebirth 5. But everyone is still running the dick teams in regular PvP. It's like you can use every character in the game, yet you're still running the four OP characters that makes it so nobody can play anything fun. It's so obnoxious.
What are the current OP characters?
So I think after you left, Spectre got reworked, and for like 2.5 years now, he's been the best character in the game by far. He's
Really
oh
interesting.
he's so stupid because anytime anybody dies on either side, he strips the character of all their buffs and then stuns them. So he just does it passively, and then he does insane damage, and he gets awareness all the time. Just like if you breathe on him, he gets awareness. So he's impossible to kill. So he's stupid overpowered. Then they released Trigon into the game,
Hmm.
so he's really powerful. And then Cheshire is, and she's also, they both do disease and they steal buffs and they're really hard to hit. They're obnoxiously overpowered.
Hmm.
They do tons of
Interesting.
damage.
Yeah.
There's a couple others that kind of mix in and out. Monkey Prince is annoying in certain comps. It's just they're in a couple different weird teams and different things. So it's it's and then the other that's been the meta forever because you could just play on auto is Atrocitus got reworked and he's super powerful and then you pair him with Supergirl and Supergirl just you don't nobody even gets a turn. It's just the game's basically an auto. Supergirl does her move twice, everyone dies, and then anybody who doesn't die, Spectre mops up. So
I feel like that was an OP combination when I was working there.
it was a different one a long time ago, but
Uh,
now they reworked him and then it got obscenely overpowered. So
But
that
hey, it's not Deathstroke and Lobo.
no, it's its own. I would say it's almost worse, actually. Believe it or not, the meta has not been fun for like 6 months.
Jeez.
So it's just you, and you don't really play like at least with Deathstroke Lobo, like you didn't run on auto, but
Yeah.
it's just I don't know, it's obnoxious. So that definitely didn't help with people didn't want to spend. But I think what really ruined the game was did they add Tapjoy when you were there, Stanner?
yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think that
So
was in there.
so Tapjoy later they started releasing Olay, and you could get like 500,000 gems by spending $50 on Olay products.
Hmm.
So if you were in the U.S. and you were on iPhone, you got Olay. And then if you were on Android, you got different games you could play for obscene amounts of gems. So then nobody had any incentive to buy anything anymore. Which, I mean, honestly, it was great for me because it got me to stop spending such stupid amounts
Right.
of money. But,
Yeah.
um, so I think that just completely warped the economy. And then, as you know, we always had hackers. Um, the we have like three or four new ones that have even were at least the old TCL. He would at least try to pretend like he looked like he wasn't hacking, but all the new guys they don't even care because they knew Warner Brothers is never going to do anything. So it
Right.
just got to a point where just like nobody even cared anymore. People just ignored the whole thing.
And what was the what about in terms of teams and stuff like that? I want to call them guilds. What were they called again?
Alliances.
Your alliances.
Yeah,
What
they
was going on with alliances? Like, is it still the same top guys? Like, is Joker's alliance still?
yeah Joker's Alliance changed. The Court of Owls, the one I've been in,
Hmm.
we've been consistently always the top. A lot the last like I would say 8 months or so, we stopped trying to go for first because it just got so expensive because the
Hmm.
teams would kill the enemy so fast. So it just got obnoxious. We legitimately lost one, which was kind of good for us because we just refused to lose, and then a couple alliances banded together and finally beat us legitimately. And then we said, that kind of broke it, and we're like, okay, we're gonna start taking every other month off or whatever. And then in the last couple months, we just didn't really care as much. Um, but then, yeah, you would see all the different alliances would come and go, but there was a few that stuck around that basically, never really changed.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's what makes the game is having guilds or
Yeah, totally.
alliances. If you don't have
Yeah,
that
yeah.
in a game, it kind of makes it so that that community aspect's what kept this game together despite all its bugs and flaws. The bugs have been one of the worst things too. Like each month, they're worse than the month before.
My favorite bug when I worked there was still the Clayface and Penguin one, which was the revive bug, right? Wasn't it where like Penguin would never die or Clayface would never die?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what that one was, but yeah.
Yeah, and it would just like stay there, and like that was always my favorite.
um, question. So one of the things I think everybody's always wanted to know, and we kind of wanted to know during that time, was there ever plans for them to do a new chapter in PVE? Like, was that ever on the drawing board, or Was that a decision they just were never going to do?
No, yeah, I think there was plans for it. I just think that like like you mentioned before, alliances and kind of guilds and PvP is kind of like the driving force for engagement and retention and revenue sometimes for these types of games. So like you end up focusing as a game team on like those things as opposed to like maybe kind of building out like the campaign mode or the PvE mode. So I think that's kind of like where the team got diverted to.
Yeah, then that's. And I also noticed that when they do data mines, the people that data mine all the different stuff,
Yeah.
they keep seeing these large, it looks like large projects that they're working on.
Hmm.
I think, and I almost kind of feel like they tried to, do too much instead of just adding little things regularly. Like, even like with the different PvP modes, instead of just adding different unusual wrinkles, like you can only use these types of characters, or you can only use those types of characters, they never seem to change that up. Do you know why they kind of went that route, or had any insight on that?
And no, I mean the only thing I can think about is like again like not having enough team bandwidth to like put towards those things. There was a lot of stuff that we always wanted to do, but we just like I think our creative director Sean used to always say that we were stuck on this content treadmill, right? And we were like releasing new heroes and reworking heroes and then doing events and then doing like PvP stuff and doing alliance stuff and then we got into we just kind of got stuck on that type of cadence for the month and like I know it seems like, oh, it was once a month and doesn't seem like it's a lot of work, but it was a lot of work for the designers to come up with the heroes and the skills and then the reworks and the packs and then making sure that, we have everything running properly. It's all QA'd and all that stuff. So it was just like we ended up staying on that new content creation treadmill and we couldn't really like sometimes get ourselves off of it to actually like, build other things beyond it. Like I remember we had a couple of releases where we just kind of focused on quality of life stuff, and that was kind of like my favorite because that was really where we could like focus in on like what little things can we change that will make the game infinitely more better for like our power users.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that was kind of like where we would end up getting stuck. Like we just wouldn't have the time and bandwidth to like go and work on those things.
Yeah, I always wondered about that because it always seemed like there was a lot of little things they could change,
Hmm.
and then they never really did those, but they could change, just for new content purposes. And they always seemed like they were trying to do something big, and then they could never get it done, and then it got scrapped.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I think it's about right.
it just kind of appeared that way. The other question that I kind of always
Mhm.
wondered about, and we never could get a straight answer on, was what prevented them from removing hackers that people were pretty sure hacked? Is it a matter of if they spent money, it kind of put them into a bucket where they weren't allowed to, like it was a lot harder process, or did they just not have the tools to detect?
No, from my understanding was that the engineers would keep building new ways to detect and then get rid of those players. And then the hackers would find new ways to get around that. So it was always kind of like we were always chasing them, right? And then like because I remember you guys used to call out like send it to me and be like this person's hacking, and I would send it to the engineers and they would go and look and it might be really easy for them to figure out like yeah this person's totally hacking, or it might take longer for them to figure it out or to figure out how they're hacking, and then like sometimes it would be something like they could just strip them from like the leaderboards or whatever, but then sometimes it would be like we can't just do that, like now we have to create like new kind of like code to do anti-hacking with, and then we would wait to release that, and then that's how that person would get taken out of it. You know what I mean? So it was just kind of like a lot of like, again, like it seems a lot more easier than it kind of was, and we had to go through like sometimes like a little bit of convoluted path to get there. But I know that was really like the hardest thing was just that like we would set up like this anti-hacking stuff and then hackers would just get around it. And then it's like going back to the drawing board to figure out, okay, how do we like reset it for like this new type of hacking?
Gotcha. Yeah, it seems like I guess in the last year or so it got really bad, but it's probably because they weren't like it wouldn't even get to the engineer level. They were doing everything could just to stay afloat.
Right. Yeah.
And I know they probably didn't like DC Legends wasn't the only game they worked on, so it was probably a
Yeah.
very limited time that it was given to. Ogre, any questions for you before I keep rambling on?
Um, I it's I don't have anything really other than what you covered.
Um, I just had something else and I just blinked out in my brain what it was. I wanted to ask you about. I can't.
Ogre. Ogre. When did you kind of stop playing?
Uh, like a year and a half ago, I think.
And was it just because like you didn't have the time to play anymore, or was there a
Yeah,
reason you quit?
I lost interest. I just didn't have the desire to play anymore. It was like I was having fun for a while, but then the game was so stagnant with like what you had, what was available, that it just kind of I lost interest in it, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I came back for a while and was doing specifically lower gear level to like show the intricacies of certain teams and how they would work, and using a lot of PVE content. I was never really a PvP player, so
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what's funny, I think I've told you guys this. What's funny is that like once I left DC, or once I left Warner Brothers, I got really into DC. And
Oh,
I
really?
like, yeah. And I got way into like the lore of like some of these characters and all this stuff. And I was like, huh, it's so fascinating. Like I didn't like obviously I knew the big players in DC when I was on DC Legends, right? But like I wasn't like I wasn't like at the Joker level where he like knew all the different like storylines that were going on with, the villains and the different like special comics that were coming out and side stories and all that stuff. Uh, but then yeah, it was like I think it was like during lockdown I got like really into it, and then I watched like the Justice League cartoons, and those are so freaking good. And then I started
the
like
movies.
no, the cartoons, the animated series.
Oh, the series, okay, because they
Yeah,
have the
yeah,
Justice
yeah.
movies. They're all really good too.
Are you talking about like Zack Snyder? Or are you talking about the animated
The
stuff?
No,
animated stuff.
the
Okay,
animated ones
yeah,
are
yeah.
all amazing. Like Flashpoint Paradox is one of my favorite movies ever.
Oh yeah, that thing's amazing. Yeah, that thing's amazing. But no, like the what was it, Justice League Unlimited?
Oh
Um,
yeah, okay.
yeah, like those were really freaking good, and that's where I kind of got to know a lot more about like other characters, like the Question, which is like an insane character. He's
She's
the
in the
guy
game.
that is he? See, that's so fucking cool. Because like just like a conspiracy theory guy, and then his whole like
Well,
weird friendship with Batman because they're both conspiracy
they
theory
have
guys.
the female version in it. I don't know
Ah,
when in the
right, right,
comic
right.
she was, but yeah, that's in the game. It's really one of the better characters in the game.
Nice, that's awesome.
Um, yeah, they. Oh, another thing that happened since you've been gone is I don't know what happened. Nobody ever told us why or what, but just one day the in-game CC just disappeared.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Joker wasn't happy. He's been very quiet since actually, but yeah, just one day it was just gone. No explanation, no nothing, and then it never came back.
That's the thing that broke him.
But
He
I mean,
lost
he still
the
plays
CC.
and he's still around, but he just.
Yeah.
I mean, he has his Discord. That's actually probably the biggest, most popular one that he runs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm in it, and
Oh,
well, I
okay,
used
great.
to see him post. I used to see him posting a lot more, obviously, like
Yeah,
and stuff.
he's been playing. He's in Star Wars Galaxy, which is basically DCL but Star Wars, and it's been around
And
forever.
been longer, hasn't it?
Oh, it's been around for 10 years, and it's going strong. I mean, it's got a huge following. They do a good job with it. I mean, it's one of those things. I never liked Star Wars, and I can't bring
Hmm.
myself to get into a game like that, and I'm too competitive, and just don't want to be broke again. So
Yeah.
so it's not for me. But I mean, it did look. I actually tinkered around with it once ages ago, but it looks like a good game. But he's real into that. So
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't peg him as a Star Wars fan,
me
but
neither. That kind of surprised me.
Yeah, yeah. But well, it's good for him that he has another community he can go and
Yeah, I haven't had him on
be a
the. He
part
hasn't
of.
been on the. I haven't really talked to him much. I hadn't had him on the podcast in ages, so I reached out to him and he said he'd come on one of our end days. We're gonna try to get every big community member on here at some point, you know, before or after it ends. And then,
Yeah, that's cool.
and do you remember M4 that was played the game
Oh yeah.
M4Y1? So he's like the most famous DC Legends player at this point anymore, and like I definitely gonna have to have him on like a week after it ends because I just don't know how he's gonna mentally handle it. So it's
Yeah,
no one loved the game
yeah.
more than that guy. So
I think I was on his podcast like 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
oh, and the episode he was on, yeah. He
I
had,
no, I was on his show, whatever
oh,
it
you mean
was.
his Twitch?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
he had me on as a guest
Oh, that's cool.
one day. So it was a while back, 2 or 3 months ago.
I didn't know that. I don't remember him mentioning it. Um, the other thing I was going to ask you about too was the sales department. I never understood their logic in sales. Was that completely separate from the team, or did you guys have any say in that?
Um,
Like the
I mean,
in-game
like,
sales?
what do you mean by you guys?
Well, like you as the community manager and developers, did you have any like input that they would accept on the sales? Because it just seemed like there was so like they never did a battle pass. They never did small sales. It was always these $100 sales. They eventually added $25 sales later that were halfway okay, pretty
Yeah.
popular. But they always did these very large sales where like every
Hmm.
other game I play, it's like, oh, it's $9.99. Sure, I'll buy that. But they do it on like every day. So then by the end of the month, you've spent $400 without realizing it. I just never understood the logic behind the sales department.
Yeah, I think during my time there, they were so kind of like caught in with like the packs we were selling. So there wasn't really, from where I recall, like a lot of talk about like, let's try different packs. I think we did try different types of packs. I remember the Two Face pack that ended up being like more expensive with less things in it, but it
Yeah.
was like funny because it was Two Face. I remember people flipped out over that one, which was hilarious. Um, but yeah, like we never really talked about a battle pass, but I'm trying to think now, like mobile so quickly, like were battle passes even a thing back then?
Well, they
Like,
have been for like the past 3 or 4 years.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. So I think even like during my time, they were maybe just getting started, like the battle pass stuff. Like now, I feel like every mobile game has a battle pass, right?
yeah, and it's smart. I mean, it
Um,
gets you locked into buying
mhm.
something every month.
Yeah, definitely. And we, it would have worked well for DCL because we do have monthly events, so you would like, so we do have like kind of like that cadence, right?
Well,
Where
that's why
like,
I never understood why
yeah.
they didn't like one of the characters you get through the battle pass. You'd have to spend
Hmm.
$30. Like I almost felt like the game was too free to play friendly because you really didn't like if you weren't worried about being max, you could
Yeah,
get everything in the game and never spend. So I think it killed the longevity of it. And what it
yeah,
never surprised me is they started doing a couple different sales in the last year, but it was never nothing really attractive, and they just
yeah,
never got to the point where they offered because you everyone would just wait. They'd be like, "Well, I'd rather get 500,000 gems by buying my significant other Olay products instead of spending $100 for basically nothing in game."
yeah. I think you're right. I think there was maybe like a little bit of lack of creativity on that side of it, but I think it was that way because it was working, right? So maybe it's a bit of that if it ain't broke, don't fix it type thing.
I,
But
I mean, it obviously didn't work that great, or the game wouldn't be shutting
I
down.
was gonna say I don't know
yeah.
if it worked or not.
And, well,
Well, I can only speak for my time there,
yeah,
right?
but what I
Like,
don't understand is the Olay stuff because there's no way they're. I mean, if I spend $50 on Olay and you could on average get 150,000 gems or something ridiculous, um,
mhm.
which would in game 150,000 gems is like $600. That fifty
Right.
dollars of Olay, they can't have to only be getting after Tapjoy and Olay takes their own cut. They can't be getting more than $5-10. I don't know. Like, what was that something they had to do, or
Yeah, I don't. I thought maybe we didn't have Tapjoy when I was there. I thought we did have it, but it was like,
I thought it was after you.
yeah, it might have been after me. I thought we had something integrated though that it was like
I
ads, right?
think well,
I
yeah,
remember.
they did add Tapjoy, but they didn't have the multiplier sales. I don't think
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
they didn't have Olay products because it was when Olay products were added.
Mhm.
That's when there was crazy offers.
Yeah, I think that was after me. I mean, you telling me about it doesn't make sense to me, so I don't know what was happening that, the people that came.
You could literally get a million gems for like $400.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would assume, this is me not having any knowledge of this because it was
Hmm.
after my time. I would assume that like whatever contract they had was working out good for them, but like I don't know. No idea.
I did read about. I was reading up on Tapjoy just out of curiosity, and it says that they have to
Mhm.
offer 4 sales a year or something.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
so
They've
maybe
been
that's.
around for a long time, like
Well,
that company.
I'm sure they made a ton of money out of the
Yeah.
normal ad revenue from it, but
Hmm.
it. I think it. I mean, I know all the people that spent heavy, including myself. We just waited for Olay after a certain point, and we would just go crazy when it came out.
Right, right,
We would buy everything.
right. Yeah.
So we had lots of friends and family that always look forward to their Olay shipments.
Yeah. Um, yeah, but I guess like I mean, yeah, so yeah, I'm not totally sure. I mean, I can only speak for like the time I was there, but yeah, during our during my time there was like those store packs were still working for us, so I don't think there was any thought around like
Yeah,
let's, put this on sale or whatever. I think what happens if like this is just in general retail, right? Like if you put something on sale, then sometimes that becomes like the normal. Like think about like how many, I mean, I do this in my personal life, right? Like I never buy anything that isn't like at least 10% off because like you can join someone's like email list and you get 10% off on stuff. So it's
true.
like, and that's really like the cost of like the item, in my head. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna pay full price and I can get 10% or 20% off for like doing like this text message thing or something. So
Yeah, I just surprised because like I'm playing this stupid DC Heroes and Villains game,
hmm
and
hmm
it's a gotcha game, so you get a capsule and a character comes out, and as soon as you get the
hmm
character, you get a sale for 9.99 to take them to Gear 5,
hmm
and you're like, what's 9.99? So you buy it automatically. I'm like, DC Legends would have been so smart to do that because it
yeah,
would have cost
yeah,
more than $10 to gear them, or cost
right,
probably less than $10 to gear them in game, but you're just tempted to just take the easy way out. So,
yeah, yeah.
but anything in DC Legends that you that they had planned that probably never came out or that was kind of in progress that you could share now that the game's over or that you can think of? Any big projects that kind of got scrapped or something?
I mean, the big internal joke from our creative director Sean was that like the way we would end the game if we ever ended it was just like release Dr. Manhattan and then he would just destroy everyone and destroy the game and that would be
Oh,
it.
really? Well,
Yeah, like that was,
it's kind of funny. I'll post it in our group chat. They
yeah,
released
that was always the thing.
they released Chaos Zintana, and
Uh-huh.
they did an art where she basically breaks the game.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. I'll show you the. I gotta
That's
find the.
awesome.
I gotta try to see if I can find the image. I know I saved it. Um, but yeah,
But no, I mean, I think one of our designers always wanted to get in Booster Gold. I don't know if Booster Gold ever got into the game, and the joke was that
yeah,
again, our
he's been in the game for a good
yeah,
while.
and
Yeah,
the joke
Tim
was
was
that
always pushing him too.
yeah, um, there was something else I was going to mention. I can't remember, but no, like I mean, we always wanted. No, I think I don't know. I don't think there was anything that I can remember that is like, oh, we left that on the table. I mean, obviously there was like a lot of like stuff we would have liked to like build out that game. I think for me, like now that I've worked on a ton of other games, like there's so much other stuff that we could have done, right? Like you mentioned, battle pass, like that would have been cool to do. Like um probably some more PvP alliance stuff would have been fun to do. I mean, we kind of got like the what was the last man, I keep forgetting the terms now because I haven't played the game in so long.
Are you talking about PvP mode?
Yeah,
The siege?
yeah. See, see, now I got it confused with like the game I currently work on, which like we call it Rage Boss, right? Where fuck, what was it called? What was that last thing that we did before I left? That was actually not.
The raid bosses?
Raids?
Yeah, raids.
Yeah, raids did just come. You're right. Raids did come out right before you left. That was it was popular for. I mean, it's still. Well, I would say it's pot. It's one of those things that everyone hates, but everybody does it anyway.
Yeah, I still have some regret around that, just because like I think there was like tiny little things we could have done to have built it better, right? But we wanted to get it out, and we kind of like released what we had. But I think there was like for me a lot of stuff that I kind of wish we would have done would have been like more polished stuff. Because I think like if we would have taken our time on some of this stuff, it would have like come out a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, raids was good
Right.
for the game, but I have to say it was my least favorite thing in the game.
Yeah, right. Like it was just I
Mindless.
mean, I got people excited because it was a big major feature and it was like co-op and all this stuff, but it like on top like DC Legends for me has always been like such a confusing game because there's so much going on, right? So I
Uh,
was like, why are we making this feature mode even like more confusing
You
for
needed to give the
players?
alliances something to do
Yeah. Yeah.
because before raids they didn't have anything to do.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it was good for the game overall, but it was just your entire weekend gone.
Right, right. Yeah.
And then it was always buggy,
Yeah. Yeah.
horribly
Yeah,
buggy. The last one was dreadful.
I
Mm.
I feel like if you ever do that kind of thing again, it just needs to be the boss that your guild fights for the week, and it just
Mm.
resets every week or something,
Mhm.
Well, it
and
needs to
just
be where you can't
individual.
you can't have unlimited attacks because then you're just gonna be forced to play.
Well, yeah, no, but like it's something that your guild needs to do individually, not ranked against every other guild.
I
Is what
don't
I'm.
know. I don't know about that. I mean, be competing against other guilds is what gets people motivated to play and spend money. So, you kind of need that competitive aspect.
Yeah, I think that's right. But let me ask you guys the question as players, right? Like, hey Mel, you said you hated kind of like that feeling like you had to play this game like all weekend. Like that's stressful for a player, right?
Well,
Like
it
you
was
don't want
Thursday,
to feel
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's mindless. So you're just basically you're attacking over and over and over, and it's just you know like I work full time. I got a bunch of other things going
yeah.
on. Like I don't want to like I want to play, and I'll put a couple hours in, but when you feel like you have to play for 72 straight hours to win,
Yeah, it feels like
it's
a lot,
it's
right?
it's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like that's kind of like stuff that I learned throughout my career. It's like I want players to come and be engaged with like the games I'm working on and to retain and to keep playing for like a long time, but I also do feel that sometimes like we can overwhelm the players with like these really long kind of play sessions, right? And like trying to get to like that sweet spot of like I'm playing this game, but I'm not playing it because it's a chore. I'm playing it because like I actually enjoy it and I want to go in and like be with the characters and enter this world and like advance my gameplay and all this stuff and
Well, especially a mobile game.
yeah, exactly, right, because it's on you and it should be easy to do. I guess it's kind of like the same way I think about social media. Like I want to engage with social media when it's fun, and then when it's not fun I don't want to engage with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about the game that you're working on. I think unless we do we have any other DC Legends topics, or we've pretty much covered everything.
I can't think of anything.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about this game, kind of, what's it about, kind of what the gameplay's like, what can we expect from it, or as much as you can share now?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, before I do that, I do want to say a couple of things about DCL
Oh, sure.
because I think for me, like it's still the community I had the most fun with, and the game that I probably had the most fun on. Like you guys were awesome, right? All the players, and there was like enough drama in the community that made it interesting. And there was like a couple of bad actors, but like it wasn't anything horrible, right? But it's like just like a fun community and environment to be in. And also like on the game team side, like it was really fun to work at Warner and like with that group of people. And like I still say that like if I think if I could have stayed on DC Legends longer term, right? Because you guys know I hopped over to Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that was my thing, Harry Potter back then. If I could have stayed on it more long term, it would have been really fun to kind of like keep working on the game. Like I said, especially after I got into like more of the DC stuff, I was like, oh man, we could have made that game like really, really fun and interesting for players, and kind of like the community probably could have been like more engaged on a different level. Um, yeah, so I don't know. So I just want to call out because I do think about the game a lot. I think about the community a lot. I'm kind of like, it was
Yeah, I
so
do
much
think
fun.
DC Legends has, of all any game I've ever played my entire life, they by far is the best community. I don't know what it is about this community, but it was just very tight knit, good, great people. There's a few bad seeds here and there, but you almost have to have a few of them just
Like,
to.
compare
Yeah,
the bad seeds to any other
Oh
game,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and it
totally.
was so smooth sailing by comparison.
Oh, absolutely. It's just
Yeah, totally.
it was, and it is a shame because I do feel like if Warner Brothers had devoted more resources to this game, it could have been like Raid Shadow Legends still makes like $1 million a month or something absurd. Um, I think DC Legends could have easily been that, but they just didn't want to give the resources that it would take to. I think. I mean, I've heard from a lot of people, and I think you've confirmed this, and other people have confirmed this, that the game was on really old code that was kind of messy, and then
Hmm.
a new team took over, and it made it more challenging than it should have been.
Hmm.
So I think that had a lot to do with it too. But it's too bad. I'm hoping that one day, and it'd probably be bad for a lot of our wallets, but I'm hoping one day they, take the whole premise of DC Legends, but create a DC Legends 2 and kind of reboot the machine. But they're gonna have to wait a little while, let us all mourn, and move on for a little while, and then be like, have the nostalgia and be like, oh, I miss it. I'll spend five
Yeah,
thousand dollars a month again.
yeah.
So
I don't
Well,
know
and
if I
then
spent that much ever on the game
no,
total.
I didn't either. But
well, then the mobile game industry is constantly moving and changing too, right? So
yeah,
it's like it'll be interesting to see like where it is in a year, or two, three, because it's just like it's constantly kind of evolving. And then there's console gaming, which still does really well too, but I think mobile still has like a little bit of an edge in terms of like how people interact with the games and with the communities too. I don't know. I've never worked on a console game. Like I would love to get the chance to do that because I think it'd be interesting to kind of like compare the two different communities. I have, but like I don't know, like it's just yeah, the DCL community was just like really really fun. I think there was like a weird thing where like um I always say like it was mostly like older guys playing the game, right? And there was
yeah,
like a few women here and there. But there was something about like you guys would be pissed off at the game and that like what we were doing, but then you would still like not take it out personally on me. I mean, there was like maybe one or two people who did, but whatever. But it wasn't bad, you know. But I always kind of like appreciated that because it wasn't like a thing of like you suck specifically.
yeah,
It's more like why are you guys doing this to the game? Like why are you doing this? And it comes from like a passionate point of view, right? So I always kind of like appreciated that you guys were like adults and like kind of like really cool about like us messing up. I mean, getting upset or whatever, but also like kind of, you were still like humans and you still kind of treated me like a human, which is nice because sometimes that doesn't.
Well, you
Always
got to
have
remember
fun.
too in this game, like the median age of players is probably like 40s. So
Yeah, 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 which I think is was good. It was fun. So,
well,
um, but yeah, anyways, I just wanted to call it out just because I know because it's a very special game to me, and I, you know,
yeah, we're trying to
always think
keep
about
like the
bringing it.
majority of people together, and that's why we're
Hmm.
tinkering around with other games, and we're hoping that we all kind of find one that really grabs us all, and we stick to
Find a
it. And,
new home.
yeah, find a new
Yeah,
home.
yeah.
We're trying to keep all our Discord servers alive, and it's definitely a good group. I'm sure many will fall off, but if something good comes around, we might be able to come back to it and get that kind of community feel because that's the part I'm gonna miss the most is chatting with everybody and doing these podcasts, which we're gonna be doing them for DC Heroes and Villains, which is a fun game. It's very similar to DC Legends, but I just don't know if it's gonna have staying power or not yet. It's too early to tell.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I played it because I think I told you this on Discord. Like, I like match three stuff, and obviously, like, I like DC. So, like, I was playing it for a while, but um, I I got to a point where like I was just there wasn't enough for me to do in the game,
Yeah,
and I was just it was getting kind of repetitive and boring, and I wasn't like none of the heroes. I didn't really like any of my characters, and it just was kind of like I don't even know like. And then it did seem a little bit hard to like level up a lot of the characters and like some of the resources are pretty scarce and
yeah.
then I had to
Gearing's
go
tough. Gearing's really
yeah
tough.
yeah and I had to go farm stuff and I'm like now I'm just doing this and I'm like so like just at the end wasn't like as fun for me
Yeah,
to keep playing
supposedly
with it.
competitive PvP's coming and a few other things that might spice it up a little. So we'll
Hmm.
we'll see. It's a good replacement. I kind of like that there's not a lot to do because I can really you can do literally everything in the game in 15 minutes. So
Yeah.
right now that's kind of fitting for me. But when you have more free time, that's I notice I'm like, hey, it's Saturday. I don't have anything to do today, but I can only play this game for about 30 minutes before I run out of everything. So
Yeah, yeah, totally. And yeah, so that's kind of like how I felt about it. I haven't played it in a while. But yeah, I could tell you a bit more about Triumph. I mean, it's a squad RPG, so it's 5v5. It's a little bit similar with DCL in terms of like, our players are getting really into the skills and like upgrading their
is it turn
characters.
based like DC Legends?
Um, no,
So it's like an action
no,
RPG where you control the characters and
no. It is turn-based. It
okay.
is turn-based. Um, but it's like there's different modes. So there's it doesn't have a PvP mode, but we do have guilds, and we're probably gonna build out that stuff a little bit more before we go to worldwide. But we have Rage Boss, which is kind of like shit, I already forgot the name again.
Kind
Raids, which is
kind of
kind of
like
like
raids.
raids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we have a mode called Daily Guild Boss, which is like also similar to raids. The Rage Boss is like asynchronous, so you're teaming up with two other players to play against the boss, which is pretty fun. And those are like daily; they change daily, so those are really cool. And then we have like we're setting up our events, and then we have the campaign mode, which is kind of like basic campaign stuff. But yeah, no, it's really fun. The artwork's freaking amazing. The way we have like our home screen set up is really cool. Um, the community is really fun. So like we're in soft launch and I set up the Discord and in there with them, and it does like kind of remind me a little bit of DCL because like everyone's like really chill, a little bit more mature than some of the other communities I had worked on recently. So people are a little bit more respectful, and everyone kind of seems to moderate themselves and kind of like police themselves, which is pretty nice. And I don't have to do too much of that.
Is the
But
soft
yeah,
launch closed or is it open to the public or?
it's open regionally, so you have to be in the regions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
And I'm guessing U.S. isn't one of the regions right now.
no, the US isn't in it right now. It's Canada, New Zealand, Philippines, Netherlands, and Belgium.
Okay, we got a few people from those regions. I'll have to mention it too.
Yeah.
standard test regions.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, it's fun. It's been fun to work on. And like I said, the community, the small community that we have right now is actually pretty cool. So
That's cool. I'm definitely excited for it. Will they eventually add PvP? Is the plan?
I don't know.
I
I
hope.
don't know, to be honest.
Chirp,
Like
chirp,
I
chirp at them that it does need to have PvP at some point. 'Cause-
Otherwise, hate mail won't play.
yeah,
look, there's been, a lot of feedback from our current players that we should do a PvP mode, and I've, shared it with the team, and I bring it up every once in a while. Like hate mail, you're right. PvP drives revenue, right? Because people want to be number one and they want to beat other people.
yeah,
Um, but so does guild versus guild stuff.
yeah. I mean,
So
you kind of want both, but
yeah,
some people care more about the team aspect. Some people care more about the individual beatdown.
yeah. I mean, like I think what I'm getting from this conversation is that like we should build a game
Yeah,
because we know what works and doesn't work,
yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, while we're on that subject, we do know a game designer that's working on one that does a sister podcast for DC Legends, and that may be coming in the near future. But
Oh no way.
he's got a good ways to go, but he's doing a great job so far.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, good luck to them.
Yeah, no, it's not easy. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What are you up to, hate mail? Like what's like how like so you said you weren't really playing DCL.
yeah, I don't play it that much. I mean, we still do. We were doing a tier list every month still,
Hmm.
and I kind of would mess around with it just enough to kind of have some idea what I'm talking about in there. And I kind of would follow it, but I kind of would defer to the people that actually played it. So we were keeping the podcast going just because it's fun to do the podcast. We were kind of down to doing just that episode every month.
Hmm.
Um, I've talked about it on the podcast before, but last year I got divorced, so that was
Mm.
kind of a shock to the system. And then I started dating again, and then that was a new shock to the system, and that was fun and good all at the same time. So that kept me
Hmm.
busy. So kind of took me out of the gaming universe for a little while there. So I
Hmm.
hadn't
You went
played a
into
whole.
the dating app universe.
Yeah, exactly. Not dating app. It's just thankfully I work in a public job where I'm at events and meet people all the time, so
Hmm. Yeah,
it
yeah, that's
makes
good.
it a little easier. So, but I ended up now I'm kind of dating one person for the last several months,
Mm.
so that's been going
Mm.
really well. So, um,
Nice. Congrats.
so that's kept me busy. So I haven't had as much time to game, um, but now things have settled down a little bit, so I have a little more free time. So, so
Yeah,
yeah.
and you think Heroes and Villains is going to be, at least for the short term, what you focusing on?
Yeah, that's what I've been playing. Just like I said, it doesn't take much time, so it's kind of something I'm having
Yeah.
fun with. I like the collection aspect. I like the team synergies, and I like the DC characters. So that's fun to be into. The game kind of lacks a little bit of depth, and it seems
Yeah.
like based on what the developers have said, it seems like there's a lot of stuff coming. So it reminds me. There's so many things that remind me a lot of DC Legends that it just feels like a good kind of the new feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's another reason why the mobile game industry is hard right now because like there are some games that have been running for years, right? That have like a lot of feature sets now. So
Mhm.
like as you're building a mobile game and you want to release it to everyone, but there's so many features now that you have to have in your game to have it be like base level
Yeah,
game in the app store that it's like it pushes everything back and back and back and then like you have to have more and more stuff. So it gets really complicated. So I can see like why like sometimes for new players you can download a game, you can be like, oh, this game doesn't have this, and this that this other game that's been running for like 8 years has. Like, why would I switch over to like this new game, right? And then you stay on that game that you've been playing for 8 years. And I don't know, it's like a really interesting time to be in, I guess, and kind of like figure out like how do you make that work? I don't know. It's a lot of and then you have like the anomalies, right? That just like come out and they're like freaking amazing. Everyone's playing them, and
yeah,
it doesn't matter. Like freaking Wordle, right? Wordle was when it came out was like like it's insane. Such a big game.
Yeah, some of these I don't understand what makes them so popular, but it's just somebody comes up with a good fun idea and
Yeah, but I think Wordle too. It's like it takes off the stress of like multi-session game playing. So it's like I only play this in the morning, and it's only one puzzle, and then I don't have to think about it until the next day or whatever.
when
And
I
it's just
know
like
because I've
fun.
never actually played it, but I
Hmm.
know I hear people say that they play it with their friends or different people, and I guess you can compete against each other on it or something. And
Mm, yeah, I don't know. I played it for a while when it came out, and then I kind of stopped. But I do play another New York Times game, but that's only because I worry about my brain health as I get older. So I have to force myself to do these things.
you take that supplement that you always hear about with jellyfish or some nonsense. I just hear that commercial nonstop. Can't think
Yeah,
of
is
the name
that
of it.
Prevagen?
Yes,
Prevagen.
you hear that
I
commercial all the time.
I've never seen a commercial. I only know about it because I listened to a podcast where one of the
Yeah,
hosts is taking it. But yeah, no, I don't take that. I almost took Alpha Brain for a while, but then I'm like, what? I was like, Joe Rogan has no hair. Like, I don't want to lose my fucking hair. So I just do algebra. I sit in my home and put on music and do algebra problems and play this freaking New York Times game. That's like
that's
about it.
hilarious.
Yeah. Hey, you gotta keep sharp, man.
Yeah,
No.
that is hilarious. Well, is there anything else we want to bring up? I don't want to keep you guys too long, so we're pushing an hour. So, um, but
Can I just ask, like, what's Kage up to?
oh, he's been kind of quiet. I mean, he drove everyone a little crazy because you know how he was with politics. So then it was just
Yeah.
endless
Yeah.
in the alliance chat. So he got booted from the owls after a while, and then
Oh man.
I mean, Kage's a good dude. He's funny, but
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
you know how he is, and
Yeah.
but yeah, we haven't really like been in contact with him too much. He still plays, but he kind of just played really, really, really passively, and then
Mm.
it's kind of doing his own thing. I don't know. It's, we'll definitely we had him on tier list episodes a while ago, a couple months ago,
Hmm.
maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and then we were gonna definitely have him on the end days. I was gonna try to get Daboy and Kage and a few others to join on this one, but it was kind of I didn't think of it until it was last minute. And
That's fine. The boy was awesome. The boy helped me out a lot when I was at Nifty. I need to check in with him. I check in with him every once in a while, but yeah, he was great because he was a big NFL fan. And he showed me a lot about Discord, and I was able to build
yeah, I
my
remember him
Discord
doing the
server
Discord when
later.
I was
Yeah,
originally messing around with it a little bit, and then just
yeah,
could.
he's really good at that stuff. It's where I learned a lot of what I know now about it.
Yeah, he's playing the DC Heroes and Villains with us. He's in our alliance,
Oh,
our
nice.
guild. But yeah, a
What
lot of
about Doombox?
Doombox is still around. He's playing DC
Hmm.
Heroes and Villains too. He's still in the NDA group. He's he's still Doom, arguing with everyone
Yeah,
about everything. So
yeah.
definitely Doom. He's calmed down a little bit. He's not quite as argumentative, but you know how once he gets on his corner or his stance, there's no
Argues for doing.
yeah, there's no changing his mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But it's pretty funny. But yeah, no, he's still around. He was on a couple episodes in the last couple months.
yeah. Yeah, I miss you guys. Pyre was like the guy who told me everything was going down. He like messaged me right away. I'm
Oh
like,
really?
oh shit, yeah. And then I messaged out the people I used to work with at Warner Brothers, and we're all kind of like, ah, crap, that's sad.
Yeah. Do you know are they getting reassigned or is it like just DC Legends? Like is that whole studio shutting down?
Well, I don't even know, to be honest, because I really only keep in contact with the people who kind of left. I don't even know who's like still there on this game, to be honest, because
Okay.
I've been
So like the
removed.
entire team that you were with is pretty much gone at this point.
I think so. I think we've all kind of moved on. There might be a few people there still, but no one I keep in contact with.
Yeah, just like it kind of looked like the whole studio was shutting down from when I was digging around, but it was nothing definitive. So I didn't know if they just were shutting the game down or they're shutting down the whole studio.
Yeah, I don't know. No idea. I will say you guys, DCL outlasted Harry Potter Wizards Unite because I got shut down last year, I
Oh,
think.
it did. I did not know that.
Yeah, which is a real fuck up. That was a bummer too. I mean, like, they're all bummers when this happens. So,
Yeah, I think the whole studio might be shutting down and getting
yeah, it's
like
possible. I have no idea.
because I don't think any of the games that studio is working on's around anymore. But it is funny
Yeah.
because I remember you telling us that everybody was always surprised that DC Legends kept doing as well as it did,
Yeah. Yeah.
kept chugging along.
I mean, even before the news, like I messaged my friend, I think he was on our podcast before, York. He was a producer. And I messaged him about it. I was like, oh shit, like DCL is shutting down. He's like, I was just telling people how proud I was of that game, that it's still around this weekend. And it was like a couple of days later, the news came out. It's like a bummer. Because we were all really proud of it. Like we've all been really proud about this game, like I don't know if people really don't know that, but we've like for a lot of us it was just like really fun to work on it with each other.
Yeah, definitely a good game. Gave me a lot of good memories. Got me through a lot of dark times.
Same
Yeah,
here.
for
Good
sure.
game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll be. I mean, I was kind of ready for it to be done, just because it's you kind of know when something's just it's time,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
was it just kind of got to a bad place, and it was like, all right, games time. It either needs a major revamp or it needs to sunset.
Yeah.
It needs 3 years off and then a sequel.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I honestly feel like that's the best thing that can happen to DC Legends at this point. Take a couple years off, sell the IP to a different studio that wants to build it up, and then bring it back better than ever. So
Yeah. And by batter you mean the positive batter in
yeah,
that
the
part.
positive batter, not bad. You know,
Yeah,
Better
yeah.
like where we can mold, make it what we want.
yeah, new fresh. I'm sure they have a lot better design tools now, fresh code that's a little easier to work with, and you know, which I am not happy with the DC Heroes and Villains people. I've reached out to them a couple times because they had this fan kit thing, and then they had sent me all the artwork stuff that you can download for the podcast, and then I haven't heard anything from them. And they went on
Um,
Atlantis After Dark, so I'm like, come on,
hmm,
guys.
interesting.
As much as I love my Atlantis After Dark people, we got a much bigger following, so they should want to come on. So
So how's that community, the heroes and villains community? I did their survey. I filled out that survey they had in game.
they
That was
seem
like
like a
super
pretty
long.
decent group. They're not bad. I mean, a lot of the people just complain endlessly, but I mean, that's kind of true of DCL too. But
Yeah.
they seem a little more whiny. But a lot of the DC Legends people is kind of integrating in, so it's a little better.
Hmm.
Um,
You guys are gonna take it over, is what you're saying, and just kind of be
Probably. I mean,
dominant.
yeah, we're all kind of not going extreme yet. We're kind of feeling our way into it to see if it's something that we want to really get into. I mean, we did an episode on it. Me and Luke did yesterday,
Hmm.
and we're gonna I or the day before. I still haven't edited it and released it yet, but
Where is that? Are they mostly like on Discord or Reddit, or like where does that
they're on
community live?
Discord. They don't seem to post like it seems like the Reddit's just fan and there isn't a very large population, but Discord is their main avenue.
And it's like an official Discord that they
Yeah,
use.
they
Like,
do an official. That was another thing. Why didn't DC Legends ever do an official Discord?
um, you know, I think because there was already fan created ones, and we just like felt like if we created an official one, like would we even have the same amount of followers as like all the fan
I think
ones?
there would have been more because that would have been a way for them to. They were so secretive and never communicated hardly. Like when you were there, it
Yeah,
was a lot more communicative. After you left, like it got really difficult to communicate.
yeah. Well, you have to remember, like DCL launched without a community manager, I think, pretty sure.
I thought
And then,
Rajan was there,
mm,
kind of. Maybe that wasn't really like his official
yeah,
title.
yeah, yeah, I don't think yeah, he might have been split across like different titles, so he wasn't like for me, like DCL was my baby, right? Like it was the only thing I worked on while I was doing some Harry Potter stuff on the side
Yeah,
while we were gearing up for that. So, um, but like there wasn't like a full time kind of like community person for a while, right? You guys had a person before me, and then I came on, and then I was kind of like, we were still trying to figure out like what the role of DCL was within the studio, I guess, because like again, Harry Potter was supposed to be the next big thing,
Yeah.
and it was kind of like how much resources do we put for this, in terms of like the community, like do we build a new Discord, do we do all that? Also, like Discord is a lot bigger now than it was back then. Like I think back then there wasn't too many officially run Discords by people. I could be wrong. It's weird because it's only like what 5 years ago, but like it's just like expanded so
No,
much.
this is 7 years ago that this game started. I know that
God,
because my daughter was born in May, and then that Thanksgiving I downloaded DCL.
Yeah, because
right.
this
I guess
podcast is celebrating its 6 year anniversary.
yeah, I guess that's right. I guess I left Warner Brothers like 4 or 5 years ago, so 5 years ago now. Fuck, I don't know. 3 years ago. Jesus
Yeah, it was
Christ,
3 or 4
years.
because you were there. I mean, you were
Right,
there
I don't know.
earlier, but it's
Yeah. So I think so yeah, so I think it was that like it was just kind of like do we want to step it was also like on my end, to be honest, it was like a little bit like I don't know if I want to step on like community toes. Like it seemed like you guys were pretty good with that. Plus we had the in-game CC. So did we need a Discord? I don't know. But yeah, I mean like in retrospect, I think in retrospect now the community manager I am now would like obviously have like an official Discord. I don't know about the Reddit. The Reddit was pretty good
yeah. The
when
Reddit was
yeah,
good, and that's kind of
yeah,
became the official after, especially after the community center was nuked. Um, that's what they used for all their official
yeah.
communication. So I know a lot of games now they have an official, like they create the Reddit, so they have somebody from the game actually be the
Hmm.
administrator, so that they can remove content that they want to get rid of, and then they do the same thing with Discord. It does make sense. I mean, DC Legends for a smaller-ish game has more Discord servers than any game I've ever seen. Like
Yeah,
World of Warcraft, which is you know 5 years ago when it was mega math. Just I mean it's still big, but compared to most games, doesn't have as many Discord servers as DC Legends.
yeah, yeah,
And there's like 10 million people that play a stupid game. So
yeah. I mean, I go back and forth on it, right? Because as a community manager, once 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 you start owning these channels, you're kind of on the hook for like the content and the
yeah,
moderation and all these things. So like it's you kind of have to pick and choose like where you want to put your time and effort into it. So like for me, it's like if fans want to run like the wiki, they want to run a Reddit, and like I can just go in there and like post, like that's great. I think talking about Discord specifically, I think like now it's like you kind of have to have an official
well,
Discord,
yeah. But you
and
just get a bunch of jokers and ogre barbarians
yeah,
to moderate it for you.
yeah, exactly,
I mean, that's what
exactly,
most of them do. They just farm out free work to all these people. I will
yeah,
never be a moderator because I just that's not my thing. But um, yeah, just let them all do that.
yeah, exactly. I mean, with Discord, you also have bots and stuff like that too, but it is stressful because then you have to be kind of worried about like someone gonna go in here and do something crazy while I'm asleep. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, and you do have to have good moderators on your
Yeah,
team to help you out and stuff like that. So, um, but yeah, that I mean, yeah, I kind of answered your question. It's just complicated.
I don't mean to cut you all short, but I do have to bounce.
Okay.
yeah. I
I
think.
will see you all another time, perhaps.
Well, Stanner, we will definitely have you on again if you want to join us on one of the End of Days podcasts where we have Joker and DuBois in them. We would
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
be happy to have you. And then, of course, we want to follow up with you and keep us in the loop on the game. If you have a Discord that the public is allowed to join, you want to share, just send it to me, or anything that you want to promote, just send it to me. We're all of us are kind of looking for a new game, so we'd be excited to kind of track that because it sounds like something that the majority of us would be interested in. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it would be awesome to have you guys join one of my communities again because I do miss you guys and it was fun hanging out. I
yeah,
just remember like Jesus, the Joker was just like when we would be in some of those chats, like the stuff he would say was just like fucking had me laughing so much at work. You know what I mean? And they're like, "What the fuck are you laughing about? These people are insane, hilarious." But so it was always a lot of fun. But yeah, I can share that stuff with you for
Yeah,
sure.
we would love that. I mean, I always had so much fun. Love to work with you again on a game. So if
Yeah,
it's a game we could all get back into, I think that'd be super fun. And hopefully we can have a more. The one thing I really didn't like about WB was that they had all these rules where you couldn't come on the podcast, for example, while you were there. We could never get any of the developers or anything. So, at
yeah,
at a little less private studio, that would be fun to be able to have a little bit more
yeah,
direct
totally,
interaction.
totally. That is what's more fun about like kind of working at a startup in a smaller place is that like you're kind of a bit more open to like doing those things, whereas like if you're at a bigger corporation, it's a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, I used to work. The banks I worked for previously were giant, mega, huge corporations, and now I'm with a small community bank, and now I have like so much freedom and authority. It's so much better.
Nice. So you became a socialist.
Actually, I'd say it's kind of the opposite. The big giant banks are the big giant banks are like
Get bailed out all the time.
yeah. So
Yeah.
the little community banks, you can get deals done. That's the nice thing.
Right, right, for
So
sure.
it's really good. But we definitely appreciate having you on. It's been super fun talking to you. We
Yeah,
will
anytime. I'll
I will
definitely be down to do more.
I will shoot you a note when we probably be sometime next week or the week after. So I'll
Okay,
I'll be in touch.
cool. Awesome. Thanks, Emil.
All right, great having you on.
Hey guys, this is Mrs. Ogre Barbarian. Thank you for listening to WORL broadcast. If you like the show, consider becoming a patron. Just go to patreon.com/WORL broadcast. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Imagine if Kage didn't give up so early on